Hello, my friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be talking about the unfortunate police shooting in Columbus, Ohio. And I know you've probably heard a lot about it by now, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview and then I'll give you my thoughts. So, Micaiah Bryant, 16-year-old, was killed by a police officer. Most people just ended at that, but when he arrived on the scene, she was actively stabbing someone with a knife. I don't know if she had stabbed her yet, but she had the knife at her, and then so the police used deadly force to protect that person. Now, I don't think he knew who exactly called the police at the time. I'm not going to show the video either. Very hard to look at. But yeah, so that's exactly what happened. And usually for these, I tend to give the victim the benefit of the doubt. And that's specifically because I think a police officer ought to be held at a higher standard than most, like your average citizen. I think they lose that right to act irrationally in situations. So for the George Floyd case, for example, and it is arguable that second degree murder charges apply. Now, second degree murder charges in Minnesota are almost exactly the same as the manslaughter charges. So just keep that in mind when people talk about that. They're almost the same. You don't need intent for it. It's certainly arguable. Whether it was beyond a reasonable doubt, I I will just rely on the jury for that. Of course, there are a lot of external factors involved in that case, but for this one, you can't really fault the officer for doing what he did. And I say that because when you arrive on a situation and someone has a knife, actively trying to stab someone, what would you do? You would, like, I feel as though, unfortunately, you have to be um like a victim per se, like especially when the cops arrive. The cops will target whoever is winning the fight first before they address the person losing the fight, because one is a more imminent threat. So that's exactly what happened. Now, he could have pulled out his taser. However, I do not think that I think it's it's just an unfortunate event that happened. So I do think it was justified in that sense. Still a terrible thing to happen. Don't get me wrong. When people say justified, it's like, oh, it's okay. It's like still like a life was lost. However, it could be argued that the other person's life would have been lost if no one came to or if he didn't come to the crime scene or intervene. So you got to take all that into perspective. Yeah, it's just an unfortunate event. She was declared dead at the hospital. And yeah, things like this happen sometimes. There have been protests for it, but I don't think you gotta use your discernment. This like in George Floyd's case, like you can clearly see where people can see what is wrong. Whether you agree with that sentiment or not, you can understand it. Here, it's kind of harder. Like it's another unfortunate event, but I don't think the officer is at fault in this in particular case. Now, there are a lot of cases that get pulled up that people are like, oh, what about this one? It's like, yeah, what about it? Um, so yeah, I think it is like the officer's not at fault here. I've just been saying the same thing over, so I'm just gonna stop the video. Anyway, God bless you. Have a wonderful day.